What are closing costs? So closing costs are the fees and expenses that's outside of the down payment. It has nothing to do with the down payment. That is two different costs. You have your down payment over here and then your closing cost over here that come with finalizing a real estate transaction. So they include things like the loan origination fee, the appraisal and inspection fees that can be tied into your closing costs, title search and title insurance, recording fees and transfer taxes, attorney or settlement fees, prepaid taxes, and homeowners insurance. And these costs typically range from 2 to 5% of the purchase price of the home. So thank you so much for tuning back into my video. For those of y'all that don't know, my name is Samantha Lee. I am a local realtor. I serve all the way from Atlanta down to Macon. So if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel for all real estate content, let's get back into the video. So what do the buyers typically pay? Buyers usually cover the closing costs connected to their loan. So they're going to have the loan origination fee. They're responsible for the appraisal and the inspection fees. Now, the appraisal and inspection fees are two things that are usually not negotiable because that is that buyer oriented to be able to get their loan. They're responsible for the title search and lender's title insurance fees, the escrow deposits for taxes and insurance, and the recording fees. It does cost money for the attorney to record the deed at the courthouse, so they will charge you for that. So for example, for a $300,000 home, this might add up to a total of between $6,000 and $12,000, depending on the lender and the location. So different states, different fees for different things. So what do the sellers typically pay? So I know this is a little controversial since the NAR lawsuit passed last year, but sellers typically pay the commission for the agents. Do they have to? No, they absolutely do not. We do have to tell our sellers up front now, because of the NAR lawsuit, that you do not have to pay the buyer's agent. We do still advise that it's a good idea to offer a buyer's agent compensation, but we do have to let them know up front they do not have to pay. But they are responsible for paying their listed agent fee, which is usually 2 to 3% commissions. They pay for the owner's title insurance in some states, the transfer tax and the recording fees, attorney or settlement fees, and the prorated property taxes and HOA fees. So when you sell a house, you are responsible for the HOA fees and the property taxes from January until the month you sell the property. I mean, the buyer didn't live in the house at that time, so why should they pay it, right? So for that same $300,000 home, a seller might be coming out of pocket $18,000 or more off of the purchase price. Once closing comes, they're going to be making $18,000 less. So can closing costs be negotiated? That is the big question. So it depends on the agent. Can your agent negotiate on your behalf for the little things? You've got to have a strong agent that's going to negotiate everything. So yes, closing costs can definitely be negotiated. Who pays what isn't always set in stone? It often comes down to the purchase agreement. So for example, a buyer can ask the seller to pay the closing costs. They can ask for a seller concession to reduce the out-of-pocket expenses. And a seller might come back and offer to pay half of the closing cost or all the closing costs, depending on where they stand. In a competitive market, buyers may cover more costs to make their offer stronger. So the more money that the seller is ultimately putting in their pocket in the end is what makes your offer the strongest. So the bottom line is both the buyer and the seller pay closing costs. So each person has stuff that has to pay, like the taxes for the seller can't be negotiated to the buyer. It wouldn't make sense. So the exact split can always be negotiated. So it's important to work with a knowledgeable realtor and lender. It's very important the lender you choose, who can break down the numbers for the specific situation. And my tip for you today in this video is always, I would say within the first week of being under contract, ask your attorney or lender for a breakdown of the closing costs. an estimated breakdown of the closing costs, because they won't know the full breakdown until right before closing. But you need to know how much you're going to be bringing out of pocket to closing, how much you have to wire. You have to wire your money like 24 hours before closing. So if it's way outside of the price range that you can afford, you need to go ahead and know that up front so you can back out of the agreement within your due diligence. So please know that ahead of time. Don't wait till right before closing to be like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can pay all these closing costs. If you have a good lender, they're going to tell you that up front. They're going to tell you exactly what you need to pay. Have a good day.